You know, every once in a while the universe slips you a little wink, a reminder that the long, strange trip really is still rolling. Now, if you spend enough time hanging around deadheads, real ones, the lifers, the tape traders, the folks who still have ticket stubs fading in their wallets, sooner or later you'll hear someone say this phrase: the music never stopped. Not as some cute lyric, not as some merch shirt mantra, but as a literal truth, because for this band, for our band, the music just kept rolling forward through decades, through members, through formats, vinyl, reel-to-reel, cassette, DAT, CD, download, streaming. And somewhere along the way, the Grateful Dead did something nobody expected. They broke a Guinness World Record, not for loudest concert, not for longest jam, not for weirdest backstage writer, but for something much quieter, much stranger, and honestly much more beautiful. The Grateful Dead hold the world record for the most top 40 albums in Billboard history, 66 of them. Just think about that. A band that built its mythology on playing live, who barely cared about the charts, who treated the record business like a side quest, ended up becoming the most charting album act of all time. Not Drake, not Taylor Swift, not the Beatles, not the Stones, the Grateful Dead, a group of musicians who used to joke that they were just the house band for the planet Earth. So how did that happen? How did a band that never chased a hit, never followed trends, and never played the same show twice end up climbing the album charts again and again and again? To understand that, you gotta go back, way back, back to the milk crates, back to the Mac sales, back to the hiss. Part 1. The Tapers built this house. See, while other bands were measuring success in gold records and magazine covers, the Dead were being carried forward by an underground railroad of tape recorders. A secret society of fans hauling microphones, batteries, patch cables, and hope into the night. And every night, those fans, those humans captured something real, something that never happened before and would never happen again. A show wasn't a product, a show was a moment, and moments have a funny way of traveling. Tape by tape, trade by trade, show by show. The Dead built an audience that didn't just listen, they participated. And decades later, when the vault doors cracked open and the band began officially releasing show after show after show, the world discovered what Deadheads already knew. This music age is like a good story. You want to hear it again and again. And suddenly these shows, some older than disco, some taped during lunar eclipses, some recorded on equipment held together with duct tape, were climbing the modern Billboard charts again and again and again. Part 2. The long road to 66. The first wave hit in the 70s. Studio albums like Working Man's Dead and American Beauty didn't just land, they settled in like old friends pulling up a chair. Then the 80s came along, and out of nowhere, Touch of Grey breaks through. A hit single, a music video with dancing skeletons on MTV, and the album In the Dark hits number 6, the highest charting record they ever had. But that wasn't the end of it, because after Jerry left the building, something unexpected happened. The band's popularity didn't fall, it rose. The vault started opening, Fillmore East 69, ladies and gentlemen, 100-year hall. Dozing at the Nick shows, whispered about in tape trading circles, suddenly had official, beautifully mixed counterparts. And Deadheads, we bought them again and again. Every new release was like discovering a lost diary from an old friend. But the real tidal wave, the one that pushed the band into Guinness World Record territory, that came with Dave's picks. A simple idea: take legendary shows, give them the respect they deserve, release them in limited runs, and let Deadheads feast. Volumes 1 through 56, boom, 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 hitting the charts like a drum beat. Some entering the top 20, some entering the top 10. Each release like another stone on the long, strange road. The music hadn't just survived, it was thriving, and that's how you end up with a band whose last full tour was in 1995, breaking a record in 2025. 66 albums, 66 moments, 66 ways time folded back on itself and said, hey, listen again. Ooh, listen again.
You know, Guinness keeps track of some funny things. Longest fingernails, heaviest pumpkin, most hot dogs eaten in 10 minutes. But this one, the Dead's record, this one isn't about numbers. It's about community, memory, persistence, and the wild, improbable fact that a band built on improvisation, imperfection, and experimentation became the most charted album act in history. Because the Dead weren't selling albums, they were selling experiences, bottled and preserved in sound. And every time one of those experiences found its way onto the Billboard chart, it meant thousands of people were doing the same thing, listening, remembering, reconnecting, rediscovering the moment the music first touched them. You don't get 66 charting albums by accident. You get it through love, through obsession, through that feeling of hearing a jam crack open and reveal something you've never heard before. Even if you've heard the show 100 times, you get it through Deadheads. Part 4, the road ahead. And here's the cosmic punchline. They're not done. There are still tapes in boxes, still reels in vaults, still nights waiting to be rediscovered. And you can bet your bottom dollar that when volume 57 or 60 or 7 and 5 drops, it'll hit the charts. Because the Dead aren't a band you listen to, the Dead are a band you live with, a band that grows with you, ages with you, wanders with you. So what does it mean that they broke a Guinness World Record? It means the music never stopped. It means the tapes keep spinning. And it means a whole lot of people, old heads, new heads, curious wanderers, are still turning their heads toward that sound. The sound of a band that refused to stay still, the sound of a tribe that refused to fade, the sound of a moment that refused to die. 66 albums, a lifetime of memories, and a world still listening. Not bad for a bunch of freaks who just wanted to play music together. So if you're tuning in right now, watching these albums drift by on the screen, maybe think of it like flipping through an old tape box. Every cover you see is a moment, every moment is a memory, and every memory is part of the long, strange trip we're all still walking. Guinness can keep the record, the Deadheads keep the story, and the story, well, it's still being told.